It's Wednesday, November 5th.
Every Canadian should feel that there's something for them.
The federal budget revealing a $78 billion deficit, highlighting new infrastructure investment and deep cuts to public service. It's being called a weather bomb, a powerful nor'easter bringing hurricane-force wind gusts and massive waves to Newfoundland and Labrador.
We believe it will be 7 that we're aware of at this time.
At least 7 people have died as a cargo plane crash in Louisville leaves a trail of fire and damage.
I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
With Democrat victories from New York to California, voters have sent a message to U.S. President Trump on election night. Stay with us, Canada. Your morning starts right now. Good morning, Canada. Welcome to Your Morning. I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lindsey Deluce.
I'm Kelsey McEwen. We hope your day's off to a great start.
The president responded, by the way, to the victories from yesterday.
Oh, what did he say?
On his Instagram this morning. Well, the White House Instagram this morning. It's just a big logo that says, Trump is your president.
Oh, okay. I knew that.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder.
So we are going to get to what happened south of the border in just a moment. I'm going to start with the budget, obviously. A bit of a recap. Prime Minister Mark Carney's first federal budget comes with nearly $90 billion in new spending.
To weather the storm of uncertainty, we will not lower ourselves, Mr. Speaker. Quite the opposite. We will raise them to catch the winds of economic change because we believe in Canada.
The federal budget also contains a deficit nearly twice the size forecast by the Liberals 1 year ago. The spending plan projects a $78 billion deficit for this fiscal year. Over the next 5 years, the Liberals are promising $141 billion in new measures, which the government plans to offset with $51.2 billion in savings. One of the biggest areas of spending is $81.8 billion over 5 years on national defense. That will get Canada into its NATO commitment of 2% GDP. The government has also earmarked $51 billion over the next decade for new infrastructure projects, $1.7 billion for a new strategy to attract international talent. And the Build Canada Homes program is getting $13 billion over 5 years, including $2.8 billion for Indigenous housing. But major cuts are looming as the federal government looks to find $60 billion in savings, and public service cuts top the list.
In a word, it's bad. It's bad for Canadians. When Mark Carney and the Liberals ran, they talked about caps, not cuts. What happened to that?
The government plans to cut 16,000 jobs and hopes early retirement, attrition, and voluntary leaves will shed another 12,000 positions for a total of 28,000 job cuts by 2029. The government plans to save another $22 billion through other cuts over 4 years. That includes $4.4 billion by dropping the price the government reimburses for medical cannabis benefits for RCMP and veterans, as well as $2.7 billion in foreign aid cuts. In other news today, thousands of people in Newfoundland and Labrador are without power this morning as an intense nor'easter moves through.
We're in the dark, we have no water, so it's going to be an emergency situation.
The rapidly strengthening system called a weather bomb is bringing hurricane-force wind gusts, massive waves to the province. Some families in the southern Avalon community of Trespassy have been forced to evacuate their homes due to rising waves and the risk of coastal flooding. Wind gusts in Cape St. Mary's have topped 170 kilometers per hour. That's huge. Wave heights measured at 9 meters. Heavy rain also falling across parts of the Maritimes. There was also heavy snowfall reported in several communities, including Massey Drive, Grand Falls, Windsor, and Gander as well. For more on what a weather bomb really is and what that means for you, I'm going to send things over to Kelsey.
Lindsay, this is a typical event that can happen really any time of year, but most often between October and March. You get the collision of two very different air masses. You have warm ocean temperatures prompting milder air on the southern sections of the system, cold air coming down from northern Canada. And it's the collision of the two that prompts this rapid intensification, that large temperature gradient. So what does this mean? Well, we likely see a pressure drop of 24 millibars at least in 24 hours or less, happening most often between October and March. Now, typically these happen along the Atlantic coast. They can happen on the west coast as well. We've seen that there, but very heavy precipitation and those elevated wind gusts. Now, Lindsay, that system is moving its way out. There is another moving its way in. We're going to talk about the upcoming active weather for the region later on this week, coming up in your national forecast. Back to you.
All right, Kels, thanks so much for that. At least 7 people have died after a cargo plane crashed shortly after takeoff at the Louisville airport.
There were 3 crew members on the plane. The 4 that we have confirmed dead are not on the plane.
Security camera footage, oh, this is devastating, shows the moments before and after the crash. The UPS plane crashed into an auto shop. There are still 2 workers unaccounted for. Officials say this massive fire you're seeing right now that followed the crash, that was caused because, oh wow. There was a large amount of fuel on the plane, obviously, because it was takeoff. The plane was starting a trip to Hawaii when it crashed. The Louisville airport is expected to reopen at some point this morning. It's devastating. In other news today, it was a good night for the Democrats and the first election night in the U.S. since last year's presidential vote.
The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
Zoran Mamdani beat former Governor Andrew Cuomo to win the race for mayor of New York City. Mamdani becomes the first Muslim and the youngest person to lead the biggest city in the U.S. I looked it up. He's 34 years old. He was born in 1991. Digest that. He ran on an anti-Trump and anti-establishment campaign, promising free child care, a rent freeze, and a corporate tax hike. Democrats are projected to win other key races as well. Let's talk about voters in California have voted in favor of redrawing the state's electoral map. The measure is the Democrats' answer to redistricting in Republican-controlled states. In Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger was voted in as governor. She becomes the first woman to lead the state. And the Democrats held on to the state house in New Jersey, with Mikey Sherrill winning the race for governor. The first head coach of the WNBA's Toronto Tempo has been announced.
The goal is to bring a championship to Toronto. That hasn't changed. My narrative hasn't changed. I like winning. It's fun, but I also know it's hard.
Sandy Brondello is a 2-time WNBA championship coach. She is also the coach of the Australian national team. She's won Olympic medals. Her most recent WNBA title came in 2024 with the New York Liberty. The Toronto Tempo is the first team in the league to be based outside of the U.S., starts play in 2026. In our last hour, this is really exciting. We're going to be speaking with Brondello in studio, so stick around for that. Exciting news from Carly Rae Jepsen, who has announced she's pregnant with her first child. The 39-year-old sharing the news on social media with these photos that you're looking at here. A caption reads, "Oh, hi, baby." This will be the first child for Jepsen and her husband, music producer Cole MGN. The couple got married in New York City early last month. That's so exciting.